Why is that so bad? That's better. Yo! How's it going, folks? A week out. Feels good to be back. How are we all doing today? How are we doing? Good news is I'm going to get my eyes tested soon. So I can actually see again. Trust you and me. Not being able to see is not a good thing. Have I lost weight? No. Maybe a little bit since I've been really ill over the past 2 weeks and not really eaten anything. But it's probably the shave. My beard was out of control. The missus was like, look, you look to the left and it slaps me. You look to the right, it slaps me. The beard has to go. And I was like, but. And then the kids started saying the beard has to go. So it had to go. I don't know. It ran 4K 60 for me, so I'm happy with that. Bags. I've only got a 60 Hz TV, not a 120 Hz TV. So, as far as I was playing, I had a smooth 60 FPS experience all the way through. Hey, Punkalicious. And unlike everyone else, I played it for free, so I can't really complain. When it's free, it's good. It was smooth 60 for me. Very smooth. So how is everyone? It almost feels like it's been forever since I've actually done a pod stream. Did my first Twitch stream yesterday. Feels good. But yeah, it looks like it looks like things didn't go the way Firewalk Studios wanted. But there was a second studio that closed down as well, right? A mobile studio called Neon Koi or something. Never even knew they existed, but damn, did they actually do anything? Did they make anything? I swear, sometimes I do think Bags is X fault. I swear. Did you buy 3 copies, Bags? Oh. Man, it's been from dry weeks to a bit of information coming all over the place, hasn't it? So I see Reforge is having a bit of fun on my behest lately. I guess I might have to start having a bit of fun of my own. The logician is starting to itch for people to mock him a little bit more. Oh, Black Ops 6 is doing great. Black Ops 6 is doing more than great. I know, what's his name? Christopher Dring decided that he was going to try to downplay the whole Xbox situation, the whole Call of Duty situation, which I think is a little sad, even by his standards. The UK physical sales are in for Call of Duty. Black Ops 6 launch sales are 10% lower compared to Modern Warfare 3. I think we can all agree that physical sales are pretty much going out the window, and digital is where it's at right now. But hey, he just had to try and get that last bit in there, right? A bit like how he tried to compare Ratchet and Clank's Rift Apart sales to Astrobot. At a time where you couldn't actually buy a PS5 and the game sold 10% less than Astrobot, I think it was. Bear in mind at the time there was only about 20 million PS5s on the market. We'll see when the digital numbers come out, and you'll see the difference. People are moving to digital. I know this whole notion that people are scared to move to digital, but they're not. It's just way more convenient. I'm not shitting on Ratchet and Clank. I'm just saying comparing Ratchet and Clank's first 3 months or 2 months to Astrobot is a spastic move to do. Because you couldn't buy a PS5 during the launch of the PS5. You couldn't buy an Xbox during the launch of the Xbox. Comparing a game's sales at 15, 20 million unit console units compared to something that's got 60 million units. That's really not the comparison you want to be making. That's just my opinion. But he used it in a way to twist it to make Astrobot look even better than it is. which is why I don't listen to anything this guy says. But it's funny nonetheless, right? We don't have any sales numbers. So if it sold well, Sony would have been out there praising the 5 million sold, 10 million sold, like they always do. But Sony didn't do that. You know a game does well when Sony comes out and says, they did it with Spider-Man, they did it with God of War, they did it with Ratchet. Any game that starts to sell well and hits those million-digit numbers, they come out with a nice little tweet post with a picture with 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, whatever it is. Did you see one for Astrobot? That is the only question I'm going to ask. Has anyone seen any numbers by Sony for Astrobot? I think Astrobot is a phenomenal game, by the way. I really enjoyed it. You've seen my review. So I'm not saying it's a bad game. I just don't think it did as well as people are saying it is. Which is a shame. Because that's the reason why we don't get games like Banjo and Kazooie and other games. Because the market just isn't there for these games. Unless it's on Nintendo's platform, it's just not going to sell. No, Ratchet and Clank, if you ran it in 30 FPS, quality mode, it looked blinding. If you ran it in performance mode, it didn't look nowhere near as good. In performance mode, it took a huge downgrade. It took a huge, the graphical fidelity took a huge hit to maintain that 60 FPS. But if you didn't care for the 60 FPS and looked at it at the third, played it at 30 FPS, it was on a whole new level. You could literally see the fur on Ratchet moving. Stephen, what I'm saying is those sort of games only really sell on a Nintendo platform. People are, gamers on Xbox and PlayStation, they kind of expect a different quality or a different style of game. They're not looking for those games. And it's unfortunate because I think there is an audience there for those games on, all platforms, but not enough to set the world alight, and especially not enough to please the shareholders. And because of that, we just don't see those games. There was a recent tweet where apparently Aaron Greenberg joked about saying that, the actual Banjo and Kazooie, there's no real demand for it, and everyone started criticizing him. And I actually think what he said was true. There is no demand for it. You've got 5 people on Twitter saying, we really want it, we really want it. And then out of those 5 people, only one of them's going to buy it anyway. That's just my personal opinion. I just don't believe that, as much as I want those games to come out because I think they're good, I just think they have a hard time appealing to the younger generation because of games like Minecraft and Roblox. I bought my kid, what was it? Let me see. There it is. Does anyone remember this game? It's called Klonoa. I remember playing this when I was younger. They kind of remade it in 3D, and you've got 2 games on this and it's a good platformer. I got it for my kid for his birthday, which I thought he would really like because I kind of looked at what sort of games he's been playing lately, and that felt it was right up his street. He played it for 10 minutes and then went back to Roblox. And he hasn't touched it since. the bottom line is the generation that actually really wants to play those games, you need to take them away from Roblox. Bags emulators still exist. That's the point, Edward. They just don't. And, you're right. RTS games, there is a market there for them. But, the market isn't big. It's a niche market for those people. People just prefer. And this is why Microsoft decided to try and venture into that kind of area with Minecraft Dungeons and the RTS tower defense Minecraft. They tried to diversify and try to appeal to the younger generation through Minecraft. It didn't work. It simply did not work. So it is just a thing. Tell them about the Sunday Ninjas. Nah, they're good. PS5 Pro has a mate. We're gonna get to that in a bit, Sanchez. We're gonna get to that in a little bit. All of the people that were bigging up the PS5 Pro and talking about this and talking about that, they got put in their place by Digital Foundry. Honestly, I think what studios need to start doing is, focusing more on like the single A, double A games and pushing out games. But the problem is today, people aren't interested in double A games. If it's not triple A, they don't play it. They're not interested. If it doesn't have that high production value where it looks absolutely stonkingly amazing like a Pixar movie or like a live action, show, people won't buy it. So, studios are stuck between, a rock and a hard place. Is there any truth, by the way? I heard something, you know, earlier today, about maybe an hour ago, that Phil is actually reaching out to Firewalk Studios, to Firewalk Studio to offer them job opportunities. Has anyone heard anything about that? Just something that came to my ear. If that's true, that's a proper Giga Chad move right there. Hey, Rebby. Me, Marlon? No. How's it going, Rebby? But no, if he actually did that, I think that's a that's a really nice move from Phil. I think it's pretty clear. I mean, look, with the fact Concord shut down, I think, I mean, there were serious problems with that game, and I'm not sure. You know, I don't think there was any QA done on that game at all. In terms of it being polished, I'd say it was fairly polished, but the balancing on that game was non-existent. There were severe fundamental problems with that game. You know, the classes were completely just really bad. Snipers, you know, anyone that played a sniper was instantly handicapped. They were, you know, immediately at a disadvantage. Even headshots weren't one shot kills. That's a problem. The whole purpose of a sniper is to, you know, high risk, high reward. You need to get those precision shots, but they weren't even counting. And the reload on the bolt actions was so long that the moment you took that shot, you had to run or you're going to get murdered. There were so many other issues with that game. It just didn't make sense. Hey, Devin, thank you for the gifted sub. So it wasn't just one thing. You had a game that didn't know what it wanted to be. You had a game that didn't really fundamentally understand where it wanted to sit. It looked like it was a kind of, you know, a mode ripped out of Destiny more than anything else. You know, I know these are ex-Destiny Crucible developers, but they didn't even try to, you know, differentiate themselves from Destiny. They pretty much created the same game. They took Crucible and just made it its own thing. And then they decided to create characters that didn't resonate with anyone outside of people who didn't want to buy the game. Why do you think the First Descendant is doing so well? You know, the gameplay loop for the First Descendant isn't great. In my opinion, the First Descendant started off really well, but it tailed off and it got quite boring. But it knows its audience and it knows how to tackle its audience. And so it's giving its audience what it wants to keep them coming back. It found a way to resonate with the core of its audience, and it's working, and it's making them a lot of money. Secondly, it came out as a 40, £50 game. It needed to be free to play. Like, the arrogance from Sony was astronomical when they believed that that game genuinely could do well as a paid for game. I mean, they should have done what they did with Foam Stars. They should have released it, you know, day one with PS Plus at the very least. So those that are on PlayStation Plus get it, you know, as part of their subscription for the first month. And then after that, if you didn't pick it up as part of your subscription, then what you want day one is as many people to be in that game as possible. You've already seen that the game has had a bad reception. The beta didn't go the way you wanted it to go. You tried to open it up to everyone else and no one bought into it. And you're still going to go with that arrogance and try and sell it to people that told you that we don't want this. You know, Sony kind of destroyed the company themselves. The game had its flaws, but the final nail in the coffin was struck by Sony. Sony didn't help Firewalk Studios. They pretty much destroyed Firewalk Studios themselves. Hey, Wayne, how's it going? Devin, thank you very much for that second gifted sub. I appreciate you. I'm good, Rebby. I'm good. I just need to Sort my sleeping pattern out. I get tired by about 6 o'clock. Maybe it's just old age. Bags is also a troll. You know he's trolling. You guys take him way too seriously. It doesn't. Wacko, at the moment, it doesn't matter what time I wake up. I slept from 6 p.m. to 7 a.m. I woke up a few times to, go toilet because I'm a diabetic, but that's a long sleep. I was fresh by 7 a.m. And by 6 p.m., I'm still falling asleep. I don't know what it is. My internal clock just wants me to just conk out by 6 p.m. Like yesterday, I went to bed at midnight. I woke up at 8 o'clock, so I've had 8 hours sleep. By 6 p.m., I was like just dropping all over the place. So, I started a little later today. I took a nap. Probably why I look a little all over the place at the moment. Concord is officially dead, Gorsty. So, Sony has closed Neon Koi and Firewalk Studios. Concord has permanently shut down. And here is the email, the full email from Herman Holst. So let's go through it. Dear team, today I want to share some important updates from Sony Interactive Entertainment Studios Business Group. We consistently evaluate our games portfolio and status of our projects to ensure we're meeting near and long-term business priorities. As part of our ongoing efforts to strengthen SIE's studio business, we have had to make a difficult decision relating to 2 of our studios, Neon Koi and Firewalk Studios. Expanding beyond the PlayStation devices and crafting engaging online experiences alongside our single-player games are key focal areas for us as we evolve our revenue streams. We need to be strategic, though, in bringing our games to new platforms and recognize when our games fall short of meeting player expectations. By the way, when he says bringing our games to new platforms, people say Steam isn't a platform. It's just PC. So what does he mean by new platforms? Asking for a friend. Console will sell a lot of Series X's Call of Duty. In Europe, probably not much. In the US, it's going to sell a decent number. You guys acting a bit slow today? Been smoking that firewall pack? Nah. I mean, I've only just started my stream. What do you mean? While mobile remains a priority growth area for the studio business, we are in the very early stages of our mobile efforts. And I think Sony is making a big mistake here. I think they should really be diving into mobile a lot more right now, especially when mobile is at its boom right now. Who knows where it's going to be in the next 5-10 years, but I think they're making a mistake here. To achieve success in this area, we need to concentrate on titles that are in line with PlayStation Studios' pedigree and have the potential to reach more players globally, like Until Dawn. With this refocused approach, Neon Koi will close, and its mobile action game will not be moving forward. Oh, I wonder what it was that they were making. So they were making something. It wasn't that they weren't doing anything. There was something. I want to express my gratitude to everyone at Neon Koi for their hard work and endless passion to innovate. Regarding Firewalk, as announced in early September, certain aspects of Concord were exceptional, but I mean, they believed it was going to be the next Star Wars. but others did not land with enough players. And again, that is Firewalk hold the the biggest fault here, but the buck stops with Herman Holst. I will always say this because Herman has seen this project through. He has been guiding it, he has been nurturing it. This has been his baby. And he had every opportunity to see that things were not right and would not resonate with the audience. But instead he chose that this was the path that he wanted to walk. And he destroyed the studio. And as a result, and this is the second studio that he's destroyed now, by the way, Herman Holst. There was that VR studio that he's absolutely ruined. If you read their Glassdoor reviews, they say ever since they were purchased by Sony, their internal what's the word I'm looking for? I can't remember the word. It's like atmosphere, but it's not atmosphere. Either way, the way the staff were inside, that spirit has systematically been broken, was what they were saying. No, not internal direction, not morale, but morale is on the right direction. Like when you have like a company, the culture. That's it. They said the internal culture of I think it was Fire Sprite, maybe I can't remember, but they said their internal the company culture was systematically dismantled by Sony executives, and now they've done the same thing to Firewalk. Herman Holst had the opportunity to make sure this didn't happen. This dude is a walking rampage, destroying studios. This is the second one now that he has literally abolished under his care. Honestly, I fear the other studios that actually are under his guidance. And as a result, we took the game offline. We have spent considerable time these past few months exploring our options. And they have, because, if you looked at Steam, you would constantly see between 1 and 3 players still jumping onto Concord on PC. They were still, even though the servers were offline, the test servers were online. So they were going in and making tweaks and changes. And I'm guessing they had maybe a month or 6 weeks to kind of change stuff and then represent it to Herman Holst and the board to see if they would be happy with the changes to maybe push it out again. I'm guessing those changes didn't work out. A bit like how Anthem had the Anthem 2.0, where they had to repitch Anthem to EA and it kind of didn't work. After much thought, we had determined the best path forward is to permanently sunset the game and close the studio. I want to thank all of Firewalk for their craftsmanship, creative spirit, and dedication. See, I think what they did here is just wrong. I think personally, in my opinion, they should have just made this free to play and given it another shot as free to play. I mean, how much money would it possibly have cost them to have the servers running for 2-3 months as free to play, with battle passes, with paid cosmetics? Sure, they have to change like the stuff that you get in the game. I mean, the cosmetics in the game sucked anyway. So at least put the store there. There was going to be a store anyway. Put all the cosmetics into the store and sell those. Give the game a chance, a fighting chance. You've lost 400 million anyway. I think making it free to play would have been the right play. But they had already decided well before that this was just something they were done with. The PvP first-person shooter genre is a competitive space that's continuously evolving, and unfortunately we did not hit our targets with this title. We will take the lessons learned from Concord and continue to advance our live service capabilities to deliver full future growth in this area. See, I think they should just stop with the live service games. They've proven time and time again they cannot do it. They just should stop. But Herman Holst, just like Jim Ryan, is gung-ho. We're going to go and do this. I know none of this is easy news to hear, particularly with colleagues and friends departing SIE. Both decisions were given serious thought. I seriously doubt that. Serious thought would have been, let this game go on to free to play. Let's give it a chance to actually see if it can succeed with an audience while it's free to play and see what will happen. And then if it didn't work, then you go to the drawing board and say, right, something just isn't clicking here and it's not working. But at least give it like 2 months, right? And ultimately, we feel they are the right ones to strengthen the organization. I'm guessing that 400 million really put a dent, and the shareholders just weren't happy. And at the end of the day, if the shareholders say that they don't want this to happen, it's not going to happen. But it should have never got to this point in the first place. Neon Koi and Firewalk were home to many talented individuals, and we will work to find placement for some of those impacted within our global community of studios where possible. I am a big believer in the benefits of embracing creative experimentation and developing new IP. However, growing through sustainable financials, especially in a challenged economic environment, is critical. Well, if you believe in experimentation, then you also need to give them the benefit of the doubt when shit goes wrong. Just my opinion. While today's a difficult day, there is much to look forward to in the months ahead. From the studio business group and our teams, I remain confident that we are building a resilient and capable organization driven by creating unforgettable entertainment experiences for our players. What do you think? You're not going to see any outrage for this comment. At the end of the day, I don't think anyone really. I don't think anyone really expected this game to survive. I know a few were hoping it would. I was rooting for the developers because I don't like seeing people lose their jobs, especially this close to Christmas. That's the worst part about all this. These people are now jobless. On the tail end towards Christmas, and it's like losing your job at any time is bad, but losing it on the eve of Christmas, I think, is the worst possible time to do it. What's wrong, Rebby? Why what? Hey, Zdrogdal, how's it going? Edward, they did. They did push it. Rabbi, I'm not seeing your question. If you could ask again, that'd be great. Read again. Where's your question? I'm not seeing your question, Rabbi. Why others? Why not much console series, Call of Duty, Black Ops 6 marketing? Because Xbox doesn't have a presence in Europe. They need to do a lot more. I'm in the UK, and I watch a lot of stuff on TV. Maybe other people have, but I don't see any Call of Duty advertising. I mean, Bluewater is one of the biggest shopping centres in the UK. Well, in just outside London, it's massive. You got Bluewater, you got Lakeside, really really big shopping centres. Uh, on the weekends, they're jam packed. Like if you want to sit, and these shopping centres have everything in them, right? I'm talking everything from your Rolex watches to Wagamamas to cinemas, everything. It's like a complete duplex. It's got everything. And over the weekend, when I was over there looking at it, not one advert for Call of Duty in there. We're talking about a shopping center that has thousands of people going in every weekend, and not one advertisement for Call of Duty. Not one. So the UK just isn't advertising Jack. Even them bags, not a single advert, not a single banner or, poster, anything. Inside Blue Water, you've got digital displays where people are advertising. That's in your face that you cannot miss. And they did nothing. Don't get me wrong, the campaigning in the US was out of this world. It was phenomenal. And, in central London, yeah. But the moment you go into some of the areas that are super populated, like these super shopping centers where people go and spend a lot of money rather than just walking around, there was nothing. I mean, sure, on the London Red buses, you saw it. On the billboards in central London, you saw it. But where was it in the areas where people actually spend their money? You kind of need to, shove it in their face. But it doesn't matter. Call of Duty is such a big game that everyone knows about it. But at the end of the day, Europe just isn't a market that Microsoft is trying to target. But they need to. They can't just rely on the success of the US. Exactly, Bags. The fact that it's a multiplayer game, you should be pushing it everywhere, trying to get as much awareness on that game as possible. That's my view, anyway. But once they release their numbers and stuff, we'll see. Until then, we don't really know. All we know is that it's number one selling on Xbox, it's number one selling on Steam, it's number one selling on PlayStation. So to say that the game isn't doing well and it's not selling well, and we're talking paid games, right? Dragon Ball Sparkle, I think it's called. It sold, what was it, 2-3 million in terms of paid sales, and on Xbox it was number one it shot straight to number one. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 shot to number one, and the Vault Edition shot, the £30 upgrade was at number two for most paid. So even on Xbox, it sold well. And of course, now the hate is magnifying from PlayStation fans trying to underplay it. Fair Games and Haven next. They're look at it. They're already getting a quick hard on with that. Haven and Fair Games being the next one to lose their jobs and close the studios. They want these studios to close down. It's a sickness, man. It's a sickness. That's all I'm saying. That is a sickness. See, with Redfall, you're wrong. That's a good deal, Sandra. That's a really good deal. And I'm going to tell you why you're wrong, Bags. Hey, Talos. And, I think it was a year ago I made this video about Redfall. Maybe it was 2 years ago. I think it was more like a year and a half ago. And a lot of people did not like what I said. But I stand by it as well. Number one, Redfall came out the way it did because of the developers. Right? They didn't want to work on the project. They had no motivation to work on the project. But ZeniMax came out and said to the staff, I don't care what you want or what you're doing. You're getting paid to do a job and you need to do it. And those same staff turned around and said, well, we don't want to work on this project, so we don't care. And so when they lost their jobs, I don't have sympathy for them. Right? But why did that game come out? Why wasn't it delayed further? And the answer to that is Game Pass. You had whole periods where there was no first-party games. And the reality is, the promise from Phil is that every quarter there is going to be a first-party game that gets released on the platform. Redfall was already delayed. So to come back and delay it again, especially in that window when there was nothing else, they kind of just had to push it out. If Game Pass wasn't there and didn't exist, I strongly believe that Redfall would have been delayed. But because Game Pass did exist and they had that commitment, they pushed it out with the notion of what Todd Howard said, it's not how you start, but where you finish. And if you look at games like Fallout 76, it's actually a really good game now. But at launch, it was a colossal mess. If you look at Redfall now, it's a really good game now. I've recently finished it, and despite the fact that the final boss was really, really disappointing, the overall experience for Redfall now is really damn good. But it took a year to get there. And it needed that extra time to cook, but Game Pass didn't give them that time. Do I think Stalker 2 will dominate? Stalker 2 is a weird one, right? Because I really want it to do well. And I think it will do well. But I also feel like the audience that it targets isn't mainstream. It targets a certain audience. And I think they are going to be all over it. And I think the media is going to be all over this game in a positive sense because of the whole Ukraine, the war in Ukraine and Russia. I think they're going to be all over this, for political reasons, promoting the game to try and get their brownie points and whatnot. But I don't think Stalker 2 is a game that's going to appeal to everyone. Redfall now can be played offline as well. So for those of you that want to check it out, right now it's in a really good state. I highly recommend you check it out. Sea of Thieves was one of the games I just couldn't get into. I tried it. It wasn't for me. See, like Elden Ring. That game is super popular, right? You all love it. I can't stand that game. I just literally do not like that game. Like, if I was being subjective with that game and reviewing it, I would probably give it like a 4. But sitting down and talking to my son and, listening to what you can do and watching him play and, seeing what you can actually do in the game, it still doesn't appeal to me. But objectively, if I was to review it, I'd give it like an 8 or even a 9. Right? So, not every game is going to appeal to everyone. No, Slimy, Concord is trash. That's why they closed it down. I do reviews, but I don't review things subjectively. If I reviewed a lot of games subjectively, they would get wild reviews. But I review them objectively. So even if I did review Elden Ring, the minimum I would have given it is an 8. Because I believe that that's what it deserves, at the minimum. I don't know, I've always been like that. I don't review games subjectively. I just look at what the merits are for the game, what they do right, what they do wrong, and what works for them, and what doesn't work. And then base my overall opinion on that game based on that. Half of Redfall, half of Austin got absorbed into the rest of ZeniMax, and they still released their final update, which added a really good graphical boost to it, added offline mode, added new content to the game. It's a really big update. Slimy, you're just salty. BioWare is in a bit of trouble, aren't they? Because they're not doing so hot right now. No, I'd give Redfall now a 7. At launch, it was a mess. I'd probably give it a 3 or a 4. But now, it's in a really good place. I'd give it a 7. Redfall is fine now. Definitely worth checking out. Hey, Derek. I'm actually doing okay, you know? I'm finally over my infection and man flu. And I can actually talk without coughing, which is great. What can I say, Bags? Once a pony, always a pony. The problem is, Duck of Death, those big issues are gone. It doesn't have those issues anymore. Stop talking about yourself like that, Slimy. No one wants to see you with makeup on. Man, that self-reflection is really bad. I'm not saying Redfall is game of the year. I'm just saying it's in a good place now. I wouldn't play it solo, but multiplayer is really good. Zrugdal, I'm not sure. Considering on Monday, someone told me, I think it was Tegsy told me that Nemesis, the Altered Nemesis, is coming very soon. And I don't have enough pulls to go for both at A6. So now I'm kind of split between the two. I really want Acerada, but at the same time, altered is always the way to go. So I really need to find out when Nemesis is coming. Because if it's coming soon, because apparently they've messed up the whole cycle of when altered characters are released. So if that's coming very, very soon, then I may skip Acerada for altered Nemesis. At that point, despite Acerada being looking great and playing great, because I've used them on the test server, it almost feels like a GU bait character just thrown in there to use your resources. For those wondering, that was a Tower of Fantasy question. Hey, it's better than Concord. It's a game I play on Mondays on Twitch. Hey, that PlayStation Game of the Year, Quantum Error. It's a trilogy, by the way, Derek. It's a trilogy. There's a third one coming as well. Oh, that's actually great news if Resident Evil 4 Remake is coming to GeForce now. One down, one to go. Yes, it has. Phasmophobia has been released on consoles. So on Thursday, we're going to be here on this channel. We're going to be playing Alien Isolation. Now, on my community post that I put up, a bunch of people were saying stuff like Dead Space and Resident Evil. I don't think Resident Evil is really a good scary game anymore. Dead Space might be. The problem with Phasmophobia is you kind of need credits to buy the items in order to do the stuff. So I'm not sure if Quantum. So you've got Quantum Error and then Quantum Slate. So at the moment, I've got Alien Isolation on the go, and if there's anything else like people want me to check out, some of those are weird and wonderful indie Steam games are terrifying. So that might be something. On Friday, for members, we'll be doing a stream. I put a members poll up, so if you haven't checked it out yet, please do. At the moment, the two that are winning is Fall Guys and Call of Duty, multiplayer and zombies. So we'll probably be jumping between those for our first members stream on Friday. So hopefully you guys can turn up for that. Condemned was a really good game by Sega. I really enjoyed that game. Dead Space that scary. I think I'm one trophy away from platinuming. I need to do that master level. Pain in the ass. I got to the final circle, and I swear I jumped through the hoop, and it did not. It hit me. Like I got there a few times, and I'm positive I jumped through it, and it still decided to just knock me all over the place. So Firewalk released a statement. Firewalk is signing off one last time. Firewalk began with the idea of bringing the joy of multiplayer to a larger audience. Along the way, we assembled an incredible team who were able to navigate growing a new startup into a team during a global pandemic. Firewalk was founded in 2018 and was very small for its first couple of years, only entering full production in 2022 when Sony bought them, and the end of Firewalk began. Build a new customized next-generation FPS engine in Unreal 4 and 5, delivering top-tier gameplay feel, beautiful worlds, and a performance 60 FPS technical experience on a stable and scalable backend on PS5 and PC to hundreds of thousands of players in our beta. It was not stable 60 FPS. I think everyone could see it wasn't stable. That was dropping frames all over the place. Manage an acquisition, integration while readying technical and preliminary tests, and ultimately ship and deliver a great FPS experience to players, even if it landed much more narrowly than hoped against a heavily consolidated market. We took some risks along the way, marrying aspects of card battlers and fighting games with first-person shooters, and although some of these and other aspects of the IP didn't land as we hoped, the idea of putting new things into the world is critical to pushing the medium forward. The talent at Firewalk and the level of individual craft is truly world class, and the teams within Sony Interactive Entertainment and across the industry will be fortunate to work with them. Please reach out to recruiting at PlayStation for inquiries, and thank you to all the very many teams, partners, and fans who supported us along the way. Well, Xvault bought 3 copies, so there's that. So, yes. Let me see. Will I hear? No. I'm not seeing Xbox on this stream. So you should be good. Yeah, go on. If it comes on my stream, then at least people will see you playing Rocket League. Because they will know. No. The bottom line is, the moment you sell your soul, you answer to a higher power. And this applies to anyone, right? The moment you sell yourself and you have a boss, you have to deliver. And if you don't, the consequences are quite drastic. We're in an age right now where, one mistake and you're out. And it's a shame. And this is the problem with the industry right now. They all talk about fostering, experimentation and creative ideas, but you make a single mistake and the game doesn't sell, and that's it. The studio is gone. So, Bags, why is that a good thing? So I take it you are in the camp that less players having access to games is a good thing? But look, then maybe you need to kind of go out a bit more, touch some grass. If that is your source of entertainment, and maybe you're unable to go out, maybe you have mobility issues, and if that's the case, fair enough. But if it isn't, watch a TV series or anime or play some video games. I'm sure that'll be way more entertaining. But hey, at least we'll always have this, right? We'll always have this. How he could say such a thing is beyond me. That's quite funny. I played the demo, Derek. I've always been I always wanted to play it, but not something that's on my radar at the moment. I think the next game I'm going to finish is Star Wars Outlaws. If I need some help. But I mean, if you look at this, and I don't know how true this is, but apparently another major publisher, a Japanese one, has decided they're going to continue self-publishing in the future after their big PS5 exclusive, Rise of the Ronin, failed to meet expectations. Capcom, Bandai Namco, Konami, Square Enix, Sega Atlas, and now Koei Tecmo are officially multi-platform third-party publishers going forward. Now, I don't know if what this dude is saying is correct, but all of these companies did come out and are now doing like games on Xbox as well, releasing their stuff multi-plat. Sega definitely, Square Enix has already announced it. Konami is also pushing their games. Bandai Namco has started pushing their newer games over. Koei Tecmo, for example, is releasing their first Atelier games now on Xbox. So it does look like the days of exclusivity for third party is dwindling. Now, Sony may have sold 60 million consoles, but the reality is, from those 60 million consoles, people aren't buying games. And that means that the exclusivity contract that these are signing based on those 60 million isn't as lucrative anymore. It's clearly, the bag that they're getting clearly isn't enough. Plumleys, that's good to hear, man. I'm enjoying it too. 15 million is a lot, Joshua. They don't hit that number. The one thing that Sony has, credit where credit's due, where Sony has actually been doing really well this year is their console sales. But the one thing that's been a disaster for them is the relationships that they've had with these studios. They're destroying them one by one. The reputation that they once held as a platform that would make them millions in unit sales is no longer there, and publishers are now learning that just because you sell X amount of consoles doesn't guarantee you X amount of sales. It's not looking good. In many ways, despite this year being a decent year for Sony, it's actually been disastrous in just relationships between other publishers. And I think that has a much bigger sway for Sony and is a much bigger disaster than anything else. They will look back on this year and just look at all the goodwill relationships that they had with these publishers where they were able to get those exclusives, and they don't have that sway anymore. And they'll look back on this year and say, where did we screw up? Because they did screw up. Derek, that's pretty much it. Do you think Xbox Series games being playable on the cloud on Xbox Ones has affected the series sales? Yes. Could that be a reason games aren't selling well on the PS5? Why would Xbox One have anything to do with the PS5? At the moment, if you have an Xbox One, you can play all the next generation games through xCloud. Obviously they're 30 FPS, but the need to upgrade isn't there. If you're happy with that performance, you technically don't need to upgrade. You still get access to all of those games, whether it's Starfield, it's Call of Duty. It doesn't matter. Yeah, but that would only affect Xbox. The PS4 generation is different, right? They don't have the ability to play, their games over the cloud for first-party games. So that would be affecting them if they could. But people just aren't upgrading. Games like Call of Duty are still releasing for the previous gen. One of the biggest games. And as long as that continues, the need to upgrade just isn't going to be there. And considering games like FIFA, or whatever, football club, whatever it's called, Madden, Minecraft, Roblox, these games are playable on the old generation. These are the games that are most played on the consoles. So that's what it's going to be. I always use the Destiny example because that one is the most striking one. Bungie came out at the time when they released their PS5 version for Destiny 2. Now, if you was on Xbox, the moment you booted it up, because of the smart delivery, it instantly upgraded you to the next gen version of the game. But on PS5, it didn't do that. And so people were on the PS4 version, and I think there was like 70% of Destiny 2 players playing the game at 30 FPS, and they were happy with it. When they had an upgrade path for free to play the PS5 version at 60 FPS, and they weren't choosing it. Now, and this was on the PS5 as well. Now, if people on PS5 don't care and are playing the game at 30 FPS, you're not getting people upgrading from the PS4 to the PS5. So, this whole cross-generational thing that's happened this generation, where games aren't really coming out exclusively only for the next generation consoles, or having a way to play them on your older generation consoles, has impacted sales in a really, really big way. And what Microsoft is doing now, as of the 1st of November, is going to leverage that. With the new ruling that's passed for, Android and Google, which they are still trying to, put an injunction on, but I don't think that it's going to work. As of the 1st of November, anything that's cloud enabled for Xbox on the xCloud, you could just go and buy your game and play it straight away. And if that's the case, and that applies to any game, technically, as an Xbox platform, they go from 30 million platforms, units, sales, or whatever you want to call it, consoles, to 500 million, overnight. And that becomes a very, very lucrative market for third-party publishers. Hey, Devastator. But it still doesn't give you the reason to upgrade. David, I've done a few of those, and I'm doing a member stream on Friday, which is pretty much what you're saying there. But I've done like a couple of streams where, I've just had like a game running and had people join and whatnot. Not many turn up to those. So this Friday I'm doing my first member stream, and we'll see how that goes. What I planned on doing during the quiet periods was having a stream where we're playing some games and we're just chatting away. And I think we had 20 people in the chat at the time. Just not many people want to stick around. I mean, the Wii U generation was just bad, right? It was an experiment. It didn't work, and it went away. How's it going, Devastator? I mean, last generation just hit different. Last generation, like Sappho was saying, Sony were firing on all cylinders. I agree with that. But at the same time, like I said, the reason to upgrade to the next gen just isn't there. And with platforms like GeForce Now, it becomes even less, it's almost, they're providing you less of a reason to upgrade to a console. Now the hardcore, the ones that turn up to these podcasts will want a physical device, and that's fine. But the average person just wants to sit down and play a video game. And if their internet capability allows it, why would they spend £700 on a console when they can just spend, $15 a month and then buy the games that they want to play and play them. And don't forget, those games are going to run better than that £700 console. They're going to look better, run better, and perform better. Doesn't that sound more appealing to you? You go to an average person who's a casual gamer and say, I'm going to sell you a £700 console that will run inferior to something that you pay £15 a month to on a subscription service, but you buy your own games to play on there. Those games are yours. They're never taken away from you. But those games that you buy will have a higher frame rate, graphically look better, frame rate be better, and performance be better. That £700 to that casual then becomes a lot harder to sell. I don't know how much it is in your country, Bags. I think I'm paying like 80 something pounds every 6 months. So it's like £160 a year I'm paying for it. But I'm also getting, a 4080 graphics card performance. And as of next year, I'm going to get a 5080 graphics card performance for the same price. Well, I'm a founder, so my price doesn't change until I fail my payments. But you get the point. In terms of value for money, cloud gaming just is a better proposition. You still own your games, right? They're yours. You can play them on Steam. You can have them on Game Pass. You can do whatever you want. Instead of you paying £1,200, £1,300 for a graphics card for a 4080, you're getting it for 160 quid. That's a good deal. And when but next year when the 5080s come out, you get a free upgrade to the 5080 for the price. I'm still going to be paying 160 on GeForce Now with a 5080 in there. GeForce Now will run better than my PC with a 3090 Ti, and it won't even add any strain to my computer. And if you've got the native app on your Fire Stick or your TV, you can run up to 240 FPS with a 4080 or a 5080. There's just no comparison. So this is the market that Microsoft is trying to venture into. This is where Microsoft is going. And as of the 1st of November, that window, that door opens up for them. And that's where they're going to go in. And this is why I strongly believe that they are going to do a deal with NVIDIA. What is an itch for me? What did I do wrong now, David? JB, yeah. I think the web browser only gives you 1080p. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. But you'll still get a 4080 1080p experience. Upscale to whatever you want. At 120 FPS. You already know. But I'm not the one that's bringing it up, okay? I'm just saying that with more and more people and these publishers, these exclusivity deals that Sony has done over the course of the year just hasn't panned out the way they wanted it to. Year on year, you've had those exclusive Final Fantasy games and whatnot, and they've been selling between 2-3 million, which is still a lot of sales. I'm not saying it's not. But for a game with a big prestigious name like Final Fantasy, you're expecting double, if not triple that. And that's what, Square Enix was expecting. And they're not getting these numbers anymore because the average gamer just plays Rocket League, like my kid is playing right now. Or they're playing Minecraft, or Roblox, or Madden, or FIFA. You know, they're playing these games. They're not playing, you know, they're playing the Call of Duties. They're not playing the Metal Gears. They're not playing the Splinter Cells, right? And that's the problem. And so when you're releasing games like Monster Hunter, which is a really good game, it's not appealing to that audience. And if you're restricting that to one platform only, you're not going to get the sales that you want. And if that bag of money that you get isn't as good, then the shareholders for these studios aren't going to be happy in the end. And when they're not happy, that relationship that you have with them when you decided to walk up to them and say, hey, I've got a bag of money that I want to give to you so we can have this exclusive, what you end up having is a situation like this where Sony offers Pearl Abyss for a timed exclusivity deal for Crimson Desert and they tell them no. You know, Sony specifically wanted to exclude an Xbox release, but Pearl Abyss said no. They've looked at the year's performance for Sony and have realized that as far as they're concerned, they've got more chance of making more money by releasing it multi-platform than they have by releasing it onto one. And that's a relationship breakdown. That's that whole power play that Sony had during the PS4 days that they pushed through on the PS5 generation. That's a breakdown in that power play. When people now turn around and say no to you, when before they wouldn't dare say no to you, that's when you know that the power shift is happening. Xbox isn't dead. Xbox is far from dead. And once this FTC case is finally over, it's going to be very interesting to see who they actually go and buy next. Because I guarantee you, as soon as this FTC trial is over, there is another purchase imminent happening. And it ain't Sega. I don't see that happening. They already own the soul of Sega, so that doesn't make sense. Thank you, Sandra. What do you think, chat? Can we hit 8,000 subs by the end of the year? If you haven't subbed yet, please do consider subbing. I blame my death on some reason. What did I say, Steve? It must have been the talk of Final Fantasy and GeForce Now. He must have been there and going, God damn it! Just one stream without him mentioning those two. Just one. What about Epic Games, David? Oh, you think they'll buy Epic Games? I don't think they need to buy the storefront. And I don't think Tim Sweeney wants to sell. Yeah? Hmm? Yeah, you're on holiday. I know EA want to sell, but EA has a caveat, right? I can't remember. Who's the current CEO for EA? I can't remember his name. But the caveat is that he still remains in charge if they sell EA. His position still stays there. He doesn't want to lose his position, which is why the previous companies all turned away. It's impossible. Wacko, I've been saying that for a while. But it's going to be interesting to see who they go for next. Because they're not done. They want their cloud service to be the most lucrative. But the one thing I want them to do, if they do buy another publisher or a studio, is immediately announce that their games will be multi-plat, and so none of this bull crap can continue. Because I think that's the right way. If you are going to do that, make the games multi-plat, but day one on Game Pass. That's it. If they made that commitment during, or at least all existing IP will be multi-plat and day one on Game Pass, none of the problems that you're having now would have occurred, I reckon. If it's a studio and you buy the studio, like say Insomniac or whatever, the game's yours. The company's yours. It's fine. But when you go and buy someone like ZeniMax or you go and buy someone like ABK, I think any existing IP should be multiplat. I've said this for a long time and I still stand by that. Now, if it's a new IP, then you can do what the hell you want with it. That's fully funded by you and for your audience only. But if you're making another Doom or another Diablo or another Overwatch or whatever, I think those are existing IP. They should just go to multiplat. But that's my opinion. But as an individual studio, then they can make the games exclusive all they want. See, Edward, if they made that announcement of what I'm saying now, I don't think people would have cared if it was day and date when it came to, you know, Indiana Jones or Doom or anything else. I don't think anyone would have cared. It's just the fact that they came out with weird messaging from the beginning and they kept on changing their tunes as time went on. And if you set an expectation, you kind of have to live up to that expectation. If you set it, you follow through with it. If you don't, then you have a problem. It's like Sony. They came out and said, Herman Hulst said, we're going to be releasing our games at a minimum 2 years. And then that dropped to day and date with other games like Siren, which is coming out on PC and PlayStation day and date. You've got Lego Horizon, which is going day and date on PlayStation, PC, and Switch. And then you got Spider-Man 2, which sent Yimnis completely and utterly unhinged and is releasing in 13 months, 14 months? And that promise that he made is now dwindling. And obviously that's affecting the mental health of certain PlayStation fans where they are becoming severely unhinged. But, if you set an expectation, you kind of have to follow through. And so, in my opinion, the expectation that, Xbox and Microsoft set with these studios was just wrong. JB, you're right. Not everything will be multiplat. But I think, if Diablo 5 comes along, it is going to be multiplat. I would be willing to put money on that. If Overwatch 3 comes along, it is going to be multiplat. For Friday at the moment, the winning vote for members is Call of Duty and Fall Guys. I'm going to be putting up the placeholder stream, the whole banner and placeholder up after the stream. I've got it all created now, so those two games are probably going to be the ones we focus on for Friday and see how it goes. Joshua, I keep hearing that. That's a joke, right? That's a joke, right? Where do you find these? For Call of Duty, Steve, it'll be a combination between multiplayer and zombies. How many players is zombies anyway? So we're just going to try and get as many people in. Mate, Devin, you're giving me too much credit. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, folks. Four. See, David, there's two ways of looking at it, right? If you have the money where you can go and buy a 4080, a 5080, or a 4090 or a 5090, PC is the way to go. Consoles have always been the entry barrier, no fuss, no hassle entry for the majority of people. In terms of affordable gaming, that is the entry point. Obviously, with the Pro coming, that is setting a new high standard, and that is moving away from that entry level. But in terms of bang for buck, even at £600, consoles will probably perform better than PCs, right? In terms of that price bracket. If you were buying a brand new PC or building your PC as opposed to a £600 console, bang for buck, you'll probably get better value from your console. Now, that is why exclusives matter in terms of your console platform. Now, if everything goes everywhere, there's no reason to have two platforms. You might as well just have one. And then that kind of creates no competition. The only reason you want exclusives is for competition. Sony doesn't really have competition this year, and you're seeing what they're doing. They can push their luck just like they did with the PS3. It didn't work well for them in the PS3 era. It seems to be doing okay for them now. They need competition. And in order to have competition, you need exclusives. So that's why exclusives are still important for console gamers. I think next gen will go beyond entry level. I think the PS5 Pro is going to set the new standard. And, you know, honestly, that's outside of everything regarding the PS5 Pro, that has been my biggest pet peeve. The fact that Sony is moving that needle yet again. And it's really annoying because there are families out there that can't. But you know what they're going to do? All they're doing is pushing people to cloud gaming. You know, in 2-3 years' time, when internet will be high performance everywhere, these deals with xCloud, Boosteroid, GeForce Now, or whatever are just going to be more lucrative. And those are going to replace, you're going to start seeing more people opting to go cloud gaming than they are going to be console gaming. Now, the people like you and me are going to go hard, we want the hardware. But the average folk, the average gamer, the normie, as I like to call them, they won't care. If they see that they can play on a 4080 or a 5080 for $15 a month, that's a no-brainer for a student, right? Exactly, Edward. Exactly. But this is why Microsoft is buying the likes of these studios because it wants to build its watches. Remember, like about a year ago, I was talking about this, and I kind of talk about it every so often. Microsoft's, ambition in buying these publishers and studios was never to restrict the games fully from other platforms. It was all about looking ahead to a future where cloud gaming is going to be the dominant platform to play on and offer the best service. So when Ubisoft only has Ubisoft games, when Sony has their first party games, and then you look at Microsoft and they say, well, look, we've got all the ABK games, we've got all the EA games, we've got all the Sega games, and we've got all the Xbox games for a whopping £20 a month. That becomes a lot more appealing to compared to Ubisoft, which says, hey, we've got Assassin's Creed, come play it for £17 a month. That's the end game. And it always has been the end game. And that's where Microsoft, that's the goal for Microsoft. That's what they want. So that is pretty much it, Edward. But obviously there's just, they're a little bit out. Man, Slimy has never played cloud gaming. He has never played cloud gaming. How sad. Talking about things his little brain doesn't understand. ISPs are too cheap to put down fiber. Hey, Brick, I actually got a letter through, right? From OpenReach. And they said, good news! We are bringing full fiber to your area. And, in this area, in this temporary accommodation, I've got pleb internet, right, at 50 meg. Whereas in my old place, I had a gigabit internet connection. I miss those days. But anyway, I was like, finally it's coming! And it says, get ready. Coming between now and 2026. And I was like, 2026? Why even bother sending? I'm like, I called OpenReach and asked them if they were trolling me for some reason. I actually called them and said, look, are you trolling people with this? 2026 and you're sending me a letter now? It absolutely doesn't. Right, Steve? I mean, I've been seeing people with the PS Portals connecting to their PlayStation at home, from a different country. And they've been playing Call of Duty recently, and they're still, they're coming first in their lobby. Now, unless every single person in that lobby is absolutely shite, that should tell you that the connection is the real benefactor here. If you have a good connection, you have no problem. That is the real question. Apparently, Microsoft is picking up the stragglers of Firewalk Studios. So who knows? Maybe we'll get a game that's actually somewhat in a better state. Hopefully, Devin, I won't be in this property that long. I'm still hoping that, maybe sometime this Christmas they'll offer us a place so I can get out of here. I doubt it, but, it's been pretty rough for me this year. I haven't had a single holiday at all. I'm running on battery fumes because of all this mess, but it is what it is. That's because PlayStation doesn't have a browser, Sanchez. They removed it after they saw that you could play Game Pass on there. When the PS5 first launched, it had a browser, and people were using it to log into Xbox Game Pass and play Game Pass through the browser. And Sony got very upset about this, and they said, "No, you need to pay for your games." And they released a firmware update that removed the browser. Sandra, I have, but I haven't played it. What's your favorite PS1, PS2 game? PS1 probably was Metal Gear Solid. I absolutely love that game. PS2 was probably Zone of the Enders. I really wish Konami. I mean, I know Konami doesn't really exist anymore, but I really wish that Konami would do Zone of the Enders. The PS4 has a browser, and also if you kind of if you send yourself a message through Message, so if you send yourself a message www.google.com through the messaging app on PlayStation, it comes up as a link and you can access the browser that way, but it's really locked down. So it doesn't give you any of the controls to enable your controller or anything. So if you're going to Pornhub.com, you can still navigate the page and watch your porn that way. It's why it's the most used app on PlayStation. That DualSense is coming into real, true effect. They are using it the way it was supposed to. Hey man, you always see vibrators being charged by a PS5, never on an Xbox though. I'm just saying. Every time you see some weird stuff like that on social media, it's with a PlayStation, never with an Xbox. Helder, it is, yeah, and it's a bad time because while Microsoft is now expanding into that era of mobile, and it's going to be interesting to see how the next few months, develops with that and what it does. The first quarter for the financial earning or the end of year financial call is going to be very interesting because that's going to talk about how the mobile side things have done, especially since the 1st of November. How Call of Duty has done with Game Pass subscriptions, we won't know until then. How Call of Duty in general has done, what it's done for overall sales, and see what you think. I wish this information was available sooner and not just at the earnings call, but unfortunately, stats are never available to anyone. PlayStation has always been like that, though. They're like Apple. Android kind of moves in, innovates, releases really cool shit, and then Apple comes along like 2 years later and says, "Hey, look, we're the first to do it." By the way, for those of you that are interested in a PS5 Pro 30th, well, not a PS5 Pro, a PS5 30th anniversary console, my contact at Sony just told me that apparently there's a campaign going on at PlayStation. Let me see if I can find it since there are a few of you in the chat that keep saying you want a PS5 or a 30th anniversary or whatever, this is the one. If you share a photo, like some people have done, you'll get it can be between a PS1 and a PS5. You get a chance to win the digital version of the 30th anniversary console. So if you're interested, I told my contact I would let you all know. That's the link. Go to town with it. But this is some great news, right? Indiana Jones, in our exclusive interview. Does anyone else miss that? You remember when that big thing would come on the Xbox showcases when it used to say exclusive? I kind of missed that. Missed those days. In our exclusive interview with Machine Games, we learned that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is targeting 60 FPS on both Xbox Series X and S alongside other juicy details. Now, I don't like the way it's saying targeting, but coming day one at 60 FPS, that's kind of cool. It's a buzzword, Bags. It picks it up on the SEO. There are certain words that you kind of put on stuff that makes the algorithm pick it out more. Unknown Leaf Storm. But yeah, 60 FPS on the Series S as well. That's cool. I appreciate that, Machine Games. That's what you want. PC Gamer has already come out and said that this game is a pile of trash. Nothing to see there. This game is on ID Tech. Bunkalicious. I'm super looking forward to this. I'm a massive indie fan though, so I know I'm going to enjoy it. Dun 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 dun. Oh my god! He finally said something that actually has logic in it. It's taking him this long. Normally he's talking about gears and stuff, which makes no sense whatsoever. But he's finally said something that makes sense. I appreciate it, dude. I don't know. Like I said, I think Stalker 2 is going to suffer from the media hype. I think Stalker 2 is going to get hit by that. I think people are going to see that Stalker 2, despite, being in the spotlight for, all the right reasons. And, the fact that they even managed to finish the game is a testament to the team. And if anyone has seen that documentary by them, it's a really hard watch. I have watched it, Steve, and yeah, that was really difficult to watch. And the fact that they actually finished the game, the media is going to be, running off the back of that to overhype it, and I think that could hurt it. I mean, it's supposed to be canon, right? It's set in the same timeline. Steve, I see you're a big fan. I actually enjoyed Dial of Destiny. I knew what was happening and I knew where it was going. And Harrison Ford is old now, right? I'm not expecting him to do the death-defying stunts that he was doing back in the day. And overall, I think it was a decent movie. It's not, nothing to write home about. But in terms of a movie, I think it was right. No, it's Troy Baker. But apparently you can't tell the difference. Yeah, that was a rough. That was rough. No, Shia LaBeouf was bad. I did not enjoy that one. I enjoyed the new one way more than that one. I did not like Shia LaBeouf in the indie movie. Facts. It's a first-person predominant game, but certain parts of the game will switch into third person as you're like climbing up or ziplining and stuff like that. So it will come out into third person when it needs to, but it's a predominantly first person game. Oh sh! Oh sh! Oh no! No! This is bad. So Puerto Rock says for Firewalk Studios, grand opening, grand closing. That's rough. And this other person here says Concord's new pronouns was, were. That's that's come on, man. Give the guys a break. They've just been fired. But yeah, I'm happy about Indiana Jones. I'm looking forward to it. I did want the collector's edition. Unfortunately, I was too late to pick it up. So, kind of sucks, but is what it is. At least my Alan Wake collector's edition has arrived. I just need to go pick it up from my brothers. And maybe I'll do an unboxing for that. But hey, all of your favorite dude has posted again. Do you remember when he posted about Microsoft Studios letting go all those people, all those studios, and he boldly mentioned Microsoft, Xbox, and all this and all that? Can anyone see PlayStation in that? Phasmophobia had to release when it released today, Steve. They wanted to release it in time for Halloween. Unfortunately, as you say, this window was way, way too busy. And it's been a bit unfortunate. I mean, just look at the difference. Xbox today announced internally it is closing 4 Bethesda studios 3 years after acquiring the company. And then with PlayStation, Firewalk Studios, the team behind Concord, is being shut down. There is a clear difference here. My dude is so shilling for Sony. It's unbelievable. I agree with Sanchez, Bags. You should definitely buy it. We haven't seen much of Contraband, right? Bags, them announcing Elder Scrolls was weird. It's been like, what, 5, 6 years now? Maybe 7 years? But yeah, my dude is always going to be the same. He will never change. This is the one thing I really like about Nintendo, right? It's the fact that when they announce their games, the games are either coming out today, in 2 weeks, or within like 3 months. It's very rare that they announce a game that's like years away, unless it's something huge like Metroid or Zelda, where they say it's now in development. But most of their games in their showcases are always games that are landing within 6 months, and that's what companies should do. That, like Pragmata. Where the hell did that game go? They also announced Factions. Where did that go? Hey, E ranks. Stellar Blade was announced about 5 years before it came out. So I don't know where you're getting that information. It was called Project Eve. They had a whole website and trailer and everything for it. They announced it ages ago. Keep it like Beyond Evil, Good and Evil, and Junior could. That's a 13-year question. Oh. Yeah, but the game had been announced ages ago, so it doesn't count. The game was known about years before it was released. So when I was at Sega, we used to have a couple developers that usually went into, social media, the forums and stuff, to talk with people. You had the community managers that were there, and they would, talk to, deliver the information. But every so often, you had one or two of the developers who would, pop in and give a bit more of a deeper level discussion as to why things are. Developers are generally, introverts. They don't like communicating outside. They like to be left alone and doing their job. It's that sort of a job. It attracts that sort of people. The moment you turn round and become an arsehole to them, they won't come back. It's really that simple. And, this is something I don't understand with people in general. If you are seeing a developer coming out and trying to have trying to have that discussion with you and explaining why things are the way they are, and all you do is, call them names and stuff like that, you just remove any form of interaction that they're going to have with you. And that's not good for anyone, right? And I've seen this countless times. It happens all the time, where a developer decides, they want to come out and speak with people, interact with them, join in on the fun and the misery, explain why things are going bad. And then you've got the arse-hats out there who are going to come in and just do nothing but provide toxicity and carnage. And then you don't have that conversation no more. And then all you get is the top-level business communication. And then people get upset. Why are we only getting that top-level business communication? Where's all the developer conversation? Well, those developers aren't coming back. Not now, not ever. That's it, they're gone. You really get one chance with these people. And if you screw that up, they're under no obligation to talk with you, provide any information to you. They do that as, at their own choice, at their own behest. It's not within their job description. So the fact that they are doing that is, is a really good thing. But you screw that up, and you only have yourself to blame for it. Helda? No. I haven't watched it yet. I've heard it's really bad. I expected it to be bad after the director said that no one on the team has played the games or is going to play the games or read up on the games. They want to go into that series with a fresh mind and deliver their own vision of Yakuza. And so they delivered a version of Yakuza where Kiryu doesn't even know how to use a mobile phone. 10 out of 10. Chats on your screen are being cut off. Chats? What chats? What chats are you talking about? Exactly, Bags. It's showing fine for me. Oh, I see. I see. Interesting. Fixed. I changed the resolution on OBS and some stuff needed resizing. That's what it was. It's not cutting anymore. Punkalicious, the TV series. Have you guys heard this? Let's have a little listen.
The ray tracing mode in particular, I mean, Alex has basically described it as lower than PC's low settings. Reaction online has been ray tracing at 30 FPS. This isn't
Oops.
really what I expected with the PlayStation 5 Pro, but it is what it is. The ray tracing mode in particular, I mean, Alex has basically described it as lower than PC's low settings.
So, do you remember people were saying that the ray tracing on this, Nibs, D-Batch, were saying that, it's revolutionary. There's nothing on PC that can rival this at the moment with AMD, and it's lower than PC, it's lower than PC's lowest settings. I don't know, chat.
Reaction online has been ray tracing at 30 FPS. This isn't really what I expected with the PlayStation 5 Pro, but it is what it is.
It's just the way he says. It is what it is. It's just the way he says. It is what it is. Man, I don't even think it's a 4060. But I think it is what it is. So much for superior ray tracing. That's supposed to revolutionize gaming. So much for the Pro being a 4070, 4080, or even a 4090, depending on how high the person you ask currently is. Lower than PC says. Shoot. So I guess that debunked that whole Nibs and D-Batch statement, right? the ray tracing is like a 4080 or 4090. Consoles will forever be underspec'd. Forever. You know, the average consoles need to be replaced every 4 years if you want them to have any chance of being somewhat relevant in the market. When they start making these consoles, they start making them pretty much after the first generation has come out. You know, when the Xbox Series X released, maybe a year later, they start, or pretty much, you know, the R&D tech probably started at launch. So by the time they get like 3 years in, they've already kind of decided where the specs are going to be, with some stuff being variable. By the time they get to year 4 or 5, or year 3 or 4, sorry, they've already cemented what it is. That tech is already old before you buy it. The problem is people want these consoles to last for 10 years, and the moment you want that, they are always going to be, you know, dinosaurs by the time their year is up. I mean, it's impressive that the Switch has lasted 7-8 years, and that's just an Android tablet, right? That's just, for those of you that don't know, it's actually NVIDIA Shield. That is what the Switch is. It is the NVIDIA Shield 2. They bought the tech from NVIDIA and created the Switch. Isn't Auto SR that software that basically allows the game to give you the best version of whatever it is that you upscaler that you're going to use? It kind of uses the best one for you, almost like a div housing. David, consoles will go away. They're not going to be here. You know, and I'm not sure if you've, how long you've been around here. Maybe you've been around it all the time and not vocal, but I've said that as far as Xbox is concerned, this next console that's coming is going to be their last before they transition into a PC kind of hybrid platform. Like a full PC kind of platform. So not hybrid, but a proper PC. PlayStation is going to release the 6. They've got the Pro now. They're going to release the 6 as well. They could even potentially go for a 7, but the 7 is dubious. I think if they do go for a 7, it's going to be digital only, and then that will be the end of PlayStation as well. But I don't even think Sony is going to go past PlayStation 6. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. They're going to create reference PCs that will run the games at a set minimum spec, and that will be what they're going to sell the boxes at for an affordable price to the consumer. And then those that want to play on a higher spec can play on a high spec PC. That's it. Oh, that itch is bad. That's called Pornhub, Devin. It's already available. I still didn't understand why people were comparing the Pro to a PC. That era, that was a weird time. I never understood it. I thought it was hilarious. I still didn't understand it though. It didn't make any sense to me. That did not make any form of sense to me whatsoever. In the end, it will, Ventura. In the end, it will. But right now, unlike Microsoft, who is kind of going everywhere, PC, cloud, and console, Sony still wants to try and retain that hardware dominance. And it believes that it's actually going to do it well when they've realized this year, this generation, it's not really done anything for them. Other than, tarnish relationships that they had. It's a company turning around to Sony and saying no was unthinkable for an exclusive deal. And yet, here you have Pearl Abyss doing it. You've got Square Enix saying no. They tried to make Persona 6 exclusive. They said no. I heard rumors that they tried to make the Metal Gear Delta timed exclusive. They said no. So you've got more and more publishers now that are just turning around and saying no. And if this was during the PS4 era, where they were firing on all cylinders and games were selling in multiple millions, they wouldn't be saying no. But you are seeing a big shift now with the PS5, where people just aren't spending as much. And companies aren't making the sales expectations that they want by making it exclusive, so they're saying no. See, he knows. He knows. He knows. David, the average consumer doesn't know the difference between a hard drive and a processor. But if you talk to the smart, intelligent people, who at least think they're smart and intelligent, I expect a more logical and coherent response from them. Yet those are the same people that are pushing that agenda. I get the normies falling for that jargon, but when you've got people that claim to be, technologically in the know and are still reporting stupid stuff like that, then it kind of doesn't make sense, right? Then it doesn't make sense. Because then at that point, you have to question what's going on here. Punkalicious. For those of you that like the Metal Slug series, apparently Tactics is coming to Game Pass soon. November the 5th. Single player, turn-based tactics. Those of you that wanted your RTS gaming in the world of Metal Slug, you are going to be in for a treat. So, 5th of November is the date. No reviews available just yet, but are you going to be checking this out? Metal Slug. Sony will still try to get third-party exclusives, but you are seeing more and more companies turning around and saying no. And there's been a lot of these third-party deals that just hasn't panned out for them, right? Like Babylon's Fall. It just hasn't worked out. Whereas other games that have been actually pretty decent have reviewed badly, like, what is it? Valkyrie Elysium. I think that was a really good game. But it hasn't really worked out for them. The reviews weren't as great because they were comparing it to previous games or games of a similar genre rather than reviewing the game for itself. So I think the media has a bit to play in it as well. But, at the end of the day, Sony is being told no. And during the PS4 days, that was unthinkable. But today, the unthinkable is becoming thinkable. But you know what I'm seeing at the moment? Which is really weird. I am seeing more PlayStation fans celebrating that Firewall Studios has shut down than anyone else. That is so weird. Like, these are the same people that were attacking Microsoft when studios got shut down. Why are they celebrating that people are losing their jobs? Uh, you have read that comment because I've seen that comment too, and clearly people don't understand how VRAM works. I've seen that. I can't remember who it was, so I'm not gonna throw blind names out. But it was a PlayStation fan that did say it when they were trying to defend the Pro. It's crazy. No, Slimy, what it is, you guys are hypocrites. That's all it is. You're hypocrites. I don't know. I genuinely can't remember who said it, which is why I don't want to name any names, because I don't want to say names if, I don't know. But, it's. When you start talking about having more space is going to give you more VRAM, you're like, there's a donut born every day. I didn't hear about Monster Hunter being exclusive. I know they got a day extra for Monster Hunter uh, beta, but whatever. I mean, even direct storage, all that really does is improve the loading times. It is the stuff in graphics cards, yes, Devin. I just don't get how people can cheer for people losing their jobs. Some time ago, Bags accused me of cheering for people losing their jobs when I've never done that and I never will do that. Right? But there is someone in chat right now, and Bags isn't saying nothing, and that dude is literally championing people losing their jobs. So, Bags, just like you called me out, I'm calling you out. Where's the same energy? Now, he's never cheered for anyone losing their jobs. But I think anyone that's actively cheering people losing their jobs when they, put the effort in to try something, and if it didn't work, it didn't work. The studio's closing, people are losing their jobs, it's unfortunate. But to actually cheer for it just shows you how much of a low-life piece of shit you actually are. You are literally scum. In fact, I think scum is being too nice. I think you are absolutely bottom of the barrel dog shit. No one should do that. No one should cheer people losing their jobs. That's fine, Miller. I've got no problem with that, but you shouldn't be cheering it. You shouldn't be cheering people losing their jobs. And I have zero patience for people like that. I mean, I left the gaming industry. I actually really loved working in the gaming industry. And, if the pay was good for working in QA, job security was good, and the hours weren't as crazy as they were, I probably still would have been in the game industry today. But I left because the pay was trash and the working hours were crazy. There were times where I worked for, almost 10, 12 hours a day for 30 days straight, trying to get one of the projects over the line because it was in such a bad state. And we did it, but that's not a healthy working environment. And the games industry is not a healthy working environment. There are good, good positives, and the community and the atmosphere and the culture is fantastic, right? It's second to none. It's like an environment that I've not experienced no matter where I've worked outside of the gaming industry. You're among like-minded people, and the senior management and whatnot. They kind of gel in with that culture, and it's there. But the actual hours you put in are astronomically ridiculous. So I used to start at times at 7 a.m. and finish at something like 5, 6, 7 p.m. It was ridiculous, and it's expected of you. And with no permanent contracts, it's just not, a viable industry that's attractive to work in. So when I see people, devoting their lives to it, credit to them, because they're doing something that they truly, truly love, and they're going for it. And then when they lose their jobs, I feel bad because I know the shit they're going through. That hasn't changed, even when I'm speaking to people today. That kind of working culture hasn't changed. You just don't hear about it. And then you see people cheering that they're losing their jobs after all the work and effort and the crunch they're going through to try and do something. If the game is bad, it's bad. That's fine. And if they're losing their jobs, fine. But don't cheer it on. That's just a pathetic human being. PS5 blows. Apparently, Phil is offering some of them job opportunities at Microsoft. And if he is, that's a Giga Chad move. And I hope he is, because losing your job at this time is bad. Ventura, again, I'm not saying, you know, studios closing is, all studios shouldn't close. What I'm saying is you shouldn't be cheering that they're closing. If they made a bad game, fine, you move on. It's not like you didn't get your money refunded in this case, which is, and even different. You got your money refunded too. As far as you are concerned as a consumer, you didn't lose out on anything. You will see now that Lego Horizon has gone to Switch, you are going to see more games going to Switch and Switch 2. And if the game sells well on the Switch, you are going to see more. Remember what I said. Once you open Pandora's box, you can't close it. And Goggle, if you're talking about like those community managers that were absolutely toxic and nasty people, do what you want with them. But the majority of developers aren't like that. There will always be outliers. But one outlier shouldn't dictate how you treat the rest of the people. Like I've seen what game was it for? Was it for... I think it was for Helldivers. The community manager was an absolute toxic cesspool. And, when people started going after that person, they deserved it. If you're going to be like that in public facing, you get what you get. That's what I said at the beginning, E-Rex. Herman Holst saw this game and he was nurturing it. This was his baby. This was his Star Wars. So he could see how bad this game was and didn't change the course. He is as much to blame for this game failing as Firewalk is. Do you remember how people were blaming Phil for Redfall? This is the exact same situation with Concord and Herman Holst. Yet you're not seeing the same accountability or the same finger pointing that the media was doing to Phil. It's exactly the same situation. So why isn't Herman Holst being held to the same standards? Jim Ryan, he pretty much knew where the ship was going. He saw the iceberg that was coming towards the Titanic, and he said, I'm not here for the sequel. I'm taking my money and I'm jumping ship. He got on that rowing boat and started going the opposite direction. Yeah, he saw where Sony was going. Brick, I would agree with you on that one. Because Woowa has dropped off real bad. Real bad. Even my kid, who absolutely loved that game, is now so bored of it, he can't even switch it on. Jim was let go. But I think if he had the choice, he would have. He could have fought for his place. He could have fought for his place. He could have fought to stay. He chose not to. When they told him that you're going because of the ABK failure, he didn't even fight for his place because he knew where it was going. They asked him to leave. There's nothing in my mind that will ever refute that. The board went to him and said, you're out. And he could have fought for his place. And I reckon he could have, if he wanted to, he could have, fought for it and probably stayed. But he chose not to. They wanted him out. he took a payout and left. Jim Ryan left to be a family man. Yeah, Connie Booth was unfortunate. Connie Booth was fired as a scapegoat. They needed a full person, so they used Connie Booth for that. She didn't deserve to be fired, but at the end of the day, they needed a full guy, and she was the prime candidate. Steve, what I think happened was he turned around and said, if you want me to leave quietly, you're going to give me all the money I want. And they said, okay. This will stop it impacting our share prices. Because if you fire your CEO, your share prices plummet. So rather than firing him, they chose the opposite direction. So it didn't hit the share prices, which makes business sense. Take it easy, Punkalicious Romeo. Phil is outlasting them all. Man, I still don't understand how Candy Crush makes that money, but that's what I'm talking about. I mean, Call of Duty Mobile makes it was, at the time it was making, and this was 3 years ago now, was making $7 million a day. A day. Let that sink in. $7 million a day on microtransactions. Bag of cookies. Exactly, Day. And he got a good deal. He got a really good deal. And he's happy for it. But it looks like Dragon Age Veilguard is having a bit of a problem at the moment, isn't it? It looks like people are... So, if you were critical about the game, you were refused a code. If you felt positive about the game, you were given a code. If you contacted their review board and said you were pro DEI, I've actually seen a really small content creator do this. They showed me. And if you said you were pro DEI, trans and all this, they also gave you a code. It looks like a lot of these reviews, they seem to be running with the same buzzword. And it's starting to raise eyebrows on whether these review scores are to be believed or not. Now, SkillUp did release a review for this game, and I think he was quite fair. He said that this was his opinion, and for you to go watch other people's reviews as well. So the game did not resonate with him at all, and it wasn't anywhere near the likes of the old Dragon Age games, and it's actually systematically worse, according to him. But you're seeing stuff like this: return to form, return to form, return to form. It almost looks like, the community team or the influencer team that contacted these review boards were told that they have to use certain buzzwords in order to get the review. And you see more of that here, right? The series hasn't been seen in 10 years. The last few BioWare games have been pretty trash. Return to form sounds fitting to use when writing up onto the reviews. It's just weird. I didn't say your name. And from what I understand, apparently there's some really weird quest in there as well that's going to raise a bunch of eyebrows. That they've kept under wraps. I haven't read the IGN review, but apparently IGN gave it a 9 because it had, due to inclusion and a storyline that involved same sex, according to the review. Has anyone actually read it? It looks like it, Steve. It looks like it. And it's not going to end well for them. It is not going to end well for them. Plays revenue? I'm guessing you meant review. I haven't had the chance. I know he got into a lot of shit. I know he got into a lot of crap because he broke NDA. And is now apologizing for it. I didn't say anything about you. Like, when you start seeing Learning the Law, who has been anti-DEI, anti-LGBTQ entirely, like, that's literally, the whole persona of this person, right? Dragon Age the Velguard delivers peak level of fantasy never before achieved in gaming history. Before they were given a review, they were shitting on this game like their life depended on it. After getting a review, that is the change in tone. It's weird. It's weird, right? And if BioWare PR team or whatever did tamper with the reviews, that's shame on them, man. It just completely undermines everything that they did with the game. But this account has been predominantly an anti-LGBTQ, X account. What did I say? At least tell me what I said. I don't know. I really hope that they haven't, and this is all just some really weird coincidence that we're seeing. but it kind of sucks if they did. And I know publications do this because I've been asked to do it in the past, and I said no, and I've refused a review copy. I was only going to be given the review copy on the basis that I would not talk about any bugs that were in the game, talk about any issues, and only spoke positively about the game. And so I refused a review copy based on those. I refused a review copy based on those requirements. I just said it's okay, thank you very much, but I don't want to lie to my audience. Even if there is only 500 people watching my reviews, whatever. I want to be truthful to the people that I'm reviewing to. Yeah, this was some time ago. No, I didn't, Derek. And this is why, my Astrobot review, I gave 2 scores. Because I think that game deserved to be rated in 2 ways. One, for those that, cared about the PlayStation heritage, because it makes a big difference to your overall enjoyment factor. And another score for those that don't care for it. And I feel like my review scores on both were fair. I think if memory serves, I gave Astrobot an 8.7 if you didn't care. And I think I gave it like a 9.2 or a 9, something like that, if you did care. The game is good. So, an 8.7 to me is still a good score. Sanchez, I have no idea. I'm just not bothering with the game. They've already decided that I'm not their target audience, so I don't care. I'm staying away from it. If they wanted me to be their target audience, then I'd be interested. You shouldn't be using dodgy YouTube. Your fault. But I do enjoy recording reviews. I just got my Call of Duty Black Ops 6 review out. I'm going to be doing more reviews, I think. I know they don't get many views, but I enjoy making them. I might do a Shattered Space one. If people want that. I know it's a little old, but well, not old, but it's been out for a while now. But I've completed Shattered Space DLC 100% now. All achievements, everything. I can't show you my actual. I'm not going to show you my actual DMs. But this is what I've been told. If you identify as a non-binary or trans, you get review codes for free. So if you reach out to BioWare and say you are trans or non-binary, you will get a free review code. And they did it themselves and they got a review code. Even though they don't actually identify as trans or non-binary. They've been rejected previously by BioWare for games, for review codes. But this time, because they said they identified as either non-binary or trans, they got a review code. So take that as you will. They didn't actually. I don't remember about Astrobot. I know we saw the leaked information, and that showed that originally they didn't make a profit, but then they did later on. You're non-binary, binary. I mean, I would criticize it for not catering for me, but then I would be fair to the game mechanics. I'll criticize it where I think where it deserves criticizing, and then praise it where it deserves praising. You know? But it's kind of sad that if you do that now, you get a review code by BioWare. So I think there has been review tampering, and that's kind of sad. So if you are looking to buy Dragon Age, I think if you've got EA access, that will give you like 10 hours free playtime or a couple of hours free playtime maybe. But if you don't, if it's not even on there, go to one of your trusted reviewers and see what they say. Because the media is going to be praising it to high heaven because they've been, they've clearly been given the free line whip. And that's unfortunate. But on to some good news. Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition is coming to Switch on March 20th. This was the only Xenoblade that hadn't yet released on the Switch. Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3 are available on Nintendo Switch. But Chronicles was the one that was stuck on Wii U. It is now coming on March the 20th, which makes me believe that the Switch 2 isn't going to land in the first half of the year. This is kind of harsh if they release this on the Switch 1. Maybe they're going to kind of do like a double deal where you can buy it for both. I don't know. But them releasing this in March, end of March, kind of makes me think that the Switch 2 is still a bit away. Although it's supposed to be announced this week, right? Byron, I think by 2027, 28, you are going to see the first Nintendo games going over to PC. Yeah, Goggle. And I think this is a good move for them to release it. Now you can play the whole collection on your Nintendo Switch. So, great stuff from Nintendo. They are delivering. And it seems like they are pretty much on fire. But yeah. They are going to continue milking this gen until they beat the PS2 to lifetime sales. I think the PS2 was at like 154 million units. From what I've heard, the Switch isn't really far off from that. So, in my opinion, outside of the Japanese economy going to absolute toilet, I think they are really going for that. The DS came close, but I think the Switch is where it's at right now, and they are trying to push the Switch to eclipse the PS2 lifetime sales. But either way, great news. For those of you that actually want to collect the whole set now, you can play every single one of them on the Switch. Hey, it's got the word Mario on it. It's going to sell. But yeah, I don't see the Switch. I don't see Nintendo giving up on the Switch until they beat that PS2 lifetime sales. Because as much as the Switch 2 will be successful, I don't see it selling as well as the Switch 1. Not at the price that it's going to come out at. The Switch came out at a really good price, and then it dropped even more with the Switch Lite. The Switch 2 is rumored to be around £450. You know, we're talking the price of a Series X and a PS5 at launch. And it's supposed to be the power of what? A PS4 Pro and Xbox One X? Use a code found? I mean, why not? They own the code now. I think what was hilarious is the fact that I think it's like a few million, Derek. It's not much. They're not far off it at all. You know, a Xenoblade Chronicles limited edition Switch, a Metroid limited edition Switch, Luigi's Mansion limited edition Switch, and they pretty much have their sales done. Because, you know, every household has like 9 Switches. And the final piece of news I have for today is this one. For those of you that don't know who Ben Irving is, he used to work for BioWare, and he worked on a game called Anthem, a game I really, really enjoyed. And, you know, I was sad to see it, you know, wither away with no updates. Anthem 2.0 had a lot of potential, but in the end, Dragon Age Veilguard was chosen over it. I don't know if that's going to be a good choice or a bad choice for BioWare in the end, but time will tell. But he's, you know, expressed an interest to reboot Anthem. And who knows? He says it's amazing how many people are still so enthusiastic about Anthem so many years later. Anthem still has the potential in the world. I'd love to reboot Anthem one day. I hope that one day he comes. You know, he made that first post, and I really hope it does. Because I really enjoyed Anthem. Despite its flaws, it was a good game. Diablo, those numbers are old. You're looking at Wiki. They haven't been updated in ages. There was another site that had more accurate. They were like at 150 odd million. They were at 143 million last year. I fail to believe how they haven't sold a single unit in a whole year. So, yeah, those numbers are wrong. The PlayStation ones are right, though. There was a running joke going that if the Switch actually got close, like a million away, Jim Ryan was going to manufacture another million PS2s and buy them just to pull ahead. That would have been funny. I'd love to see something like that. That would be hilarious. Can you imagine? But yeah, if you see anyone else out there that starts bigging up the PS5's ray tracing, just know that you can always show them this. And no matter whether it's Batch or anyone else.
The ray tracing mode in particular, I mean, Alex has basically described it as lower than PC's low settings. Reaction online has been
lower than PC's lowest settings. Ouch. 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 So much for that revolutionary ray tracing. Do you remember how Nibs and Co were bigging up that ray tracing better than any AMD graphics card that has to offer? That's some next level. Oof. Right there. Joshua, they were. At the time, the PS2 was being bought as a DVD player because it was the cheapest DVD player out there. And I think the PS4 was the first one to have Blu-ray, and it was the cheapest Blu-ray player out there. So, Sony benefited off that heavily. Microsoft decided with the 360 to go HD DVD, and that didn't really pan out. HD DVD lost to Blu-ray. Even though HD DVD was better quality, Blu-ray just had a higher capacity. But folks, that's it. That's our stream for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I am going to call it a day. Good luck to Dragon Age Velguard. I think they're going to need it because, review tampering and stuff just isn't it. Pretty much, Joshua, like the Betamax situation. Betamax was way higher quality. But yeah, I'm going to be around tomorrow on Twitch. I'm not sure exactly what I'm playing. Thursday, we're going to be back here with Alien Isolation. And Friday, if you're a member on the YouTube channel, we'll be playing some Fall Guys, Call of Duty multiplayer and zombies. So hopefully you'll turn up for that. It's our first event. Trying to get that running at least once a month or twice a month. So hopefully I'll see you then. Right. Peace out, folks, and I'll see you next time. Remain legend. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.